When was the last time that you stopped trying to figure something out alone and turned to another resource nearby to help you find that solution? Sadly, much time is lost trying to figure it out before we go search for new resources. We'll discuss drawing on resources when it is necessary and more on this edition of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Tom was giving me a hard time Friday about how I have my hands up ready to go.
You just get prepared.
Today. I'm from a dark bunker today, Tom. I don't know. I've got some lighting issues that I can't seem to resolve. Not to mention some camera issues. So, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. It's a great day. Start to a new week, Monday morning. And a great new discussion after we talked about lessons learned. Not lessons. We did talk about lessons learned on Friday. But we had two great discussions over the week about redefining our success based on lessons that are learned. So the last 2 weeks, some really good content. So you should go back and take a look at it and listen to it if you haven't. It's easy to do. Lots of places that you can find it. And then feel free to share your thoughts in the comments if you'd like, because that'll help everyone else. So this week, we are going to continue to move our progression forward and talking about drawing on resources. And today we'll talk about when it's necessary. But we'll get to that in just a minute. So one of the things we do every day to kick off our show is we talk about our celebrations. What are you celebrating today, Bob?
I'm celebrating that it's a new quarter. Now, I know the new quarter started Friday, but for some reason it didn't click for me on Friday. It clicked for me this morning that we're in the second quarter. And I think this is a time when, for a lot of us, we look at how the first quarter went. It's also for a lot of people I've heard in the last week or two, people like, hey, I got my taxes figured out. This is what I did or didn't do last year. I know, Tom, you're not anywhere close to that, right? You've still got what? 11 days.
11 days.
11
Or an
days.
extension.
We're counting down. But I think it's sort of a good marker, a mile marker along the road pathway to your success. Where are you right now? And I know I took some stock this morning. It's like, okay, these are the things that are going really well. Here's some things I really need to work on. And I think constantly doing that is really helpful. And it ties into the resources as we're going to talk about later today. So that's my celebration. It's a new quarter, quarter two, Q2.
I like that. Well, probably because Friday was April Fool's Day.
Right.
Made it hard to really start to think about a new quarter.
Yes, correct.
I can imagine that.
Also, it was a Friday. And Friday is sort of when you're winding things up, not starting new things. So I think that was the other part of it.
Yeah.
What's your celebration?
So my celebration is that, so as I've shared many times, unless you're a first-time user, that I officiate girls and women's lacrosse. And this year, for the first time, I have done some Division I games. And I would have to say that my first three, there was a different sense. I was definitely more nervous, just a heightened sense of awareness, maybe, of what was going on and what I was doing. And I would say over the last week, culminating with my game on Saturday, I had a different sense of calm, where I kind of felt like, okay, I've done this now a few times, and I'm now at that point where I'm feeling kind of like I belong there, if that makes any sense. That not this person who like, all right, what is this person doing? Why is he here? To now,
Sure.
like, okay, I feel like and not that I wasn't a contributing member of my officiating team in the past. I just feel like I am at a more comfortable place with that level of a game. Not that when I go to the next one on Wednesday, it could all go differently. And I think I will come into it with a renewed sense or a new sense of confidence with the comfort that I have in those games. So that's my situation.
So if I can just ask, because I think it applies to where we are with our businesses and where we are leading teams. It takes time to feel comfortable.
Sure.
Now, if you believe Malcolm Gladwell's theory in his book Outliers, it takes about 10,000 hours, which is 5 business years, to become comfortable. And he based that on, he looked at the Beatles, he looked at Wayne Gretzky, the hockey player. He looked at a lot of different examples of how long it was until they said they felt comfortable. And so for you, you keep changing your officiating level. So that would create, there's probably comfort because you've been officiating for a long time, but it's a new set of circumstances because it's a higher level of play. So the caliber of play is different. It probably moves faster. So you're kind of in that hybrid of, does it take 10,000 hours or does it take, 3 days in the new environment?
Sure.
Which I think is fascinating.
No, I would agree. And it's funny. It has, I think, as I was thinking about it, as we were just talking about it, it has sort of coincided with the place of my fitness. I felt like pre-COVID, I was in maybe the best shape of my life. And I've been working to get back to that since the shutdown. And I have noticed again this week where, I walk off a high school game and I'm not that tired. And where I feel more comfortable with the pace of the college play and not feeling like I can't. And it wasn't a problem keeping up. It was more like, how do I catch my breath after keeping up? And I'm feeling like there are still moments like that because they still play very fast. And sometimes the possession changes quickly and I'm not feeling it as much. So that was, I think, an additional benefit that made me feel like, okay, well, that's one less thing I have to worry about. Now I can solely focus on the game and what's going on inside of that.
Okay. And now it's time to read, Tom, from this great book. You've got a copy or two of it, I'm sure. The Renegade Way. I'm going to talk today really briefly. I'm going to read about the entrepreneurial myth. One of the popular myths perpetuated in business courses, and me, have contributed myself in the classes I've taught. Workshops for entrepreneurs and TV shows like Shark Tank is that the great entrepreneurs, the Bill Gates, the Henry Fords, the Jasmine Crows, knew from day one what they wanted to accomplish and people just flocked to it. Nothing could be further from the truth. Look up these entrepreneurs as well as any of the other true entrepreneurs, and you'll see that every one of them had to morph their vision into something that would sell. There you go.
Well, it's interesting as you talk about that, as I was thinking as you were reading, it's not that much different than a leader either. No. Leaders have the same challenge, right? Is that they feel comfortable leading in one situation and then they leave, take a new role, or they were not the leader of a team and now they are. And you take that role and you end up morphing. You think this is what it was because this is what worked before, or this is what worked for you. Now you're trying to share that with others. And I think it takes time, just as we've been talking about, seems like all morning, to get to that place where.
Same with your officiating, right? It all ties together.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yes.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that about the myth of the entrepreneur.
Yes.
If you haven't read the book and you'd like a copy of it, please feel free to reach out. I bet Bob would even sign one for you.
Yeah, I could do that.
Because I think that you might enjoy reading more, or it could be like read along. You could, every morning when you're listening to the show, you could open the page and read along with Bob. Maybe that's what we'll call this.
It'd be really great.
Yeah. All right.
We have to start our Tuesday read along.
That's one place to get a resource, correct?
Yes.
So
and I think that ties into what we've been talking about so far this morning. The whole idea of finding resources that accelerate our move from discomfort or being uncomfortable to becoming comfortable in a situation. So often, I know for me, it's like I think I have to figure it out on my head to make it work. But as I've gotten older, I've started to realize that really I can rely on other resources, and there are people around me, there are books, there are magazine articles, newspaper articles, online resources that can shorten that learning curve. So let me give you an example unrelated to business. I like to play the guitar. I'm not very good. So just so we're clear. But every now and then I'll hear a song on the radio. I'll be like, oh, that song, I'd like to play that song on the guitar. And I can go find the notes and the chords, and I can strum the chords. Or I can go online to YouTube, and thank goodness there are videos, free videos that you can see where someone tells you a strumming pattern. They show you what to accentuate. They tell you how to integrate the voice. And I find when I watch that video, I become more skilled at playing that song more quickly. It still becomes my own, but it gives me the things that I wouldn't have been thinking about. Because to me, it's really, at the beginning, it's just those three chords, G, D, A. I'm not thinking about the strumming. And then I got to think about, well, what's the strumming like? Is it two down and then one up and down and up? So it really does speed things up for me. And I think that's what we have available as leaders, as business owners, as managers, is all these resources. And so often we expect to just make it up, figure it out in our head. What do you think about that, Tom?
I 100% agree. I think that there are, for some reason,
It's not going to be a very fun show if you agree 100%.
Well, here's what I
agree 72%, and then we have 28% to fight.
I could completely disagree. Have we ever fought on this show?
No, not yet. Not like Chris Rock and Will Smith. No.
Oh man, we've done so well to not go into like current event.
It had to have a little topicality. Otherwise, now you know this is fresh. You know, we didn't record this like 3 weeks ago or 3 years ago.
Like the Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so if we're going to go back that far, here's what struck me when I started thinking.
Struck you. That's good.
I didn't even think about that.
I see what you didn't know you did there.
Right. When I was thinking about it, the first thing that came to mind was car trips when I was a kid. Because back then, before there were cell phones, you had maybe a roadmap. And typically you had a driver who thought, oh, I know where I'm going. I'll figure it out, which was my dad. God love him. And so often my mother would be like, would you just pull over and ask someone? And he'd be like, no, I can figure this out. And I think there's some sense of that in all of us. Is like, I'll just figure it out. Either I'm going to bother somebody, I'm afraid to go ask and say that I don't know. I'm not sure that the person who I ask is going to have the information that I'm going to need. All of those things, I think, play into our head as to why we choose to try to go it alone. And we don't leverage all of the resources that are available to us. And I think that that's one of the maybe most beneficial things you can do as an entrepreneur or a leader, or within an organization, is to figure out the resources that are available to you and how you can then leverage them. Because so often we get in those situations because, again, we haven't had the knowledge, experience, or perspective to know what the next step should be, could be. And so why not go ask others who may, or may be able to help us discover it on our own. And I think that that's the key piece of it. Is it's not so much the fear of not knowing it or feeling that we should. To me, the key piece of it is the time lost, right? The time lost because I took a wrong turn and went in a different direction, or that I sat there at my desk and spent 3 hours trying to figure it out. Like, what else could have been done in that time lost? And I think those are the times when it's really necessary. When we have finally said, when am I going to stop beating my head against the wall and go looking for a resource that might be able to help me? And I know later in the week, we'll talk about where to go find those resources in some other parts of this conversation. I just think that it's that, how long will it take us to say, why am I trying to figure it out on my own? Why did my dad continue to drive the direction he swore he knew where he was going, when we could have just as easily pulled over and asked someone?
And I think we all fall into that trap of believing we understand something when in fact we really don't. I was with someone over the weekend and we were talking about travel, and I was talking about the countries I'd been to, and the person said to me, oh, you have a passport. Wow. when did you get that? And I said, well, we were going to go travel. We knew we would. So I got it right before that. And the person said, oh, I've never gotten my passport. And I said, oh, but you want to go travel, there's a delay to get your passport. You might want to get your passport now so that it's with you when you're ready to travel. And the person said, well, it's only good for a year, right? And I said, no, it's 10 years. And the person, you could just see instantly the reaction like, what? I said, it's 10 years. You get your passport, it's good for 10 years. And are you sure? I'm like, I've got one now. I can tell you.
And it's way easier to renew.
Yes.
Than it is to get it the first time.
Correct. And so this person had this faulty expectation that if she didn't get the passport for a year, she might not use it. It's like, don't you think in 10 years you'll travel overseas at least once? Oh, absolutely. No doubt. You might want to get your passport.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a big thing, but I know I've done that in my business a number of times where I'm like, I believe this to be true. And I've got the Bob theory of things being true. And then someone finally breaks through and it's like, oh, well, that changes everything. And the other thing I think that comes up in this whole situation that we have to talk about briefly, at least, is the feeling that a lot of us have that if we can't figure this out ourselves, we're not worthy of being in the position we're in. As a leader, if I can't solve these problems, why did they hire me to be the leader? If I'm a business owner and I can't figure this out on my own, why would I be in business? I'm a failure as a business leader if I can't figure these things out on my own. Or the other part is, if I talk to someone about it, if I admit to Tom that I'm really struggling with this really simple thing, is Tom going to think less of me? And Tom talks to people in business, and is he going to say, hey, Bob's really, Bob doesn't know what the heck he's doing with an Excel spreadsheet. You can't work with Bob. Let me just tell you. Those thoughts go through my head a lot, and they stop me from finding the easier path towards success. And I know I'm not alone. I guarantee it.
No, but here's the interesting thing as I was thinking about when you were talking about that. Truly, what if left to your own devices from the start, where would you be?
Probably where I am without any help.
No, go further back. As you imagine, when you're born.
Oh,
you don't have any knowledge.
Yeah, we rely on people our whole lives. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And so
those first couple of years, you're really at the hands of everyone else.
And why do we feel that should change just because we have some knowledge, experience, or perspective? We'll never have it all because we would never have the opportunity to meet every single person and have them share every single bit of information, every experience that they've had, all their knowledge and their perspective, so that we could synthesize it all and say, yes, I now have all the knowledge in the world. I've heard about every experience possible, and I've considered every possible perspective that there could be. And here's the problem. Even if you were able to do that, that was possible. The minute you walked away from someone, you now no longer, from that last person, you now no longer do it, because everybody you talk to has gained new knowledge, experience, and perspective. And they likely gained something just from having a conversation with you. And so, it just seems to me that for all of our lives, we've relied on other resources, external resources, to help us get to where we want to be or to where we are. Why wouldn't we do that to help us get to where we want to be? Ponder that for a second.
That's a mic drop moment. I don't have a microphone to drop, but I feel like I need to get one.
I don't know. Maybe
it's hard to follow that up. So I think I'm just going to try a different way. Tom, what's your one thing today?
So my one thing, because we're talking about drawing on resources and when it is necessary. And I guess I would offer that it's always necessary. That the resources, even if you're trying to do it alone, you are drawing on outside resources, right? Nowadays, you're going to the computer and you're searching. You go and watch a YouTube video. you go and search out somebody who might have already done what you've done. Maybe there's a book that you could read. And I think that when it's necessary is when we have paused. I would say if you spent more than 10 minutes trying to figure it out on your own without doing any of those other things, looking for a book, searching the internet, you're just sitting at your desk or in your chair or in your car or wherever you do your work or do whatever it is you're trying to do, and you haven't figured it out, it might be the time. That's when I think it's necessary for you to go out and try to find the resources that you might need. And what I have experienced, they're usually a lot closer than we think. That when my dad finally did stop and ask, he usually got really good information and we got to where we were going a whole lot quicker. And I think that that's, and in my life, typically when I've stopped to ask for help, stop to have someone share a new resource with me, it has been a light bulb moment that helped me move a lot quicker. So that's
I like that. I like that. You brought up a story I have to tell. Years ago, we went to a winery, or we went to Sonoma, California, and we were looking at wineries. And we went into the first winery, and we're sitting there having a drink, and we're asking people, where should we go next? Where should we go next? And someone tells us to go to this certain winery. And the owner of the business comes out as soon as that person leaves and says, no. Here's the tour of wineries you need to go to. They pull out a map and they literally map out every winery that we should go to, the order we should do it in. And then they said, you should go here for breakfast, here for lunch, go here to get snacks to take to this winery. So all we wanted to know was what wineries to go to, because there were 30 of them and we couldn't hit 30. And we got probably 10 wineries, but we also got one of the best breakfasts I've ever had, a great lunch, a really great place to get cheese and crackers, and a whole bunch of other information that wasn't on the list of things when we said we're flying to California to go to wineries. And I think that's what we have available when we're proactively seeking help, is you get color and texture that gives you a fuller picture of the situation. You know, I felt like when we left Sonoma County, California, we really understood the community. We had been to different businesses. We had been to the great stores. We'd seen history in a way that if we had just gone winery shopping, you know, one winery to the next, we wouldn't have seen it. And I think that's what happens when we talk to people about, hey, what was your experience? How did you find it when you hired your first employee? When you expanded your staff? When you had to let people go? When you took out your first loan? There's a lot of information that's more than just the facts of how to do something. It's not just how, but why, when, and it gives us a broader picture. And it really, I think it makes it more interesting. My one thing, all that said, my one thing would be to proactively seek people that can help you. I'm realizing now, surrounding myself with people that will help me often before I realize I need their help. They'll be like, Bob, you've been talking about this for 2 weeks. Are you stuck? Is really helpful and much more effective, because I don't always get out of my head quick enough. Well, I can obsess about something and not seek the help. So having the people around who are like, I want to help Bob achieve whatever he's trying to do. And also those other people, I'm trying to help them. And being really clear with that group of people, what you're trying to do, what I'm trying to do, and that I don't know all the answers. That to me is a real game changer.
There's no doubt. Well, and how could we ever know all the answers? Because we don't even probably know all the questions. Another thought to ponder.
That sounds like a really good song lyric.
Probably a country song lyric, I would imagine.
Yeah.
There were the Grammys last night, so somebody maybe will pick up on that. Listen, now they're probably not listening this morning, but maybe they'll catch us on a replay and they'll be like,
there you go.
He's right. He's got a really good song.
Lil Nas will like this.
You could add songwriting to your
Megan Thee Stallion. Yeah, any of those guys. Yeah.
Sure. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for being with us today. If you have one thing you'd like to share or other thoughts and ideas, please feel free to put it in the comments. You can also go to our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, where we will be talking about drawing on resources all week. And so there'll be opportunity for you to share and comment and consider about when it might be necessary for you and how you can identify that so that you can move forward more quickly and more effectively than you might be at the moment. It's easy to do, though. Just go to Ring of Renegades, just go to Facebook, Search for Ring of Renegades if you're not already a member, and then just ask to join, and you can be a part of it. Great place to go if you happen to listen to our podcast and are looking for that community to join, to be a part of, because you want to continue the conversation in a different way. And we are going to be growing that community within our Renegade Success Network app. Our Renegade Success Network app.
Dun, 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 dun. You threw me.
Well, I was trying to see how awake you were this morning.
Not apparently.
You can download that from Google Play or from the App Store in Apple. And there will be a broader community coming soon. It's a little tease for what's coming down the road. So with that, thanks so much for being a part of our show today. We look forward to seeing you inside our Ring of Renegades Facebook to continue our conversations. If not, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, for our next edition of today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone. Hey,
embrace the renegading you. And watch out for that entrepreneurial myth. It'll get you.
Yeah, interesting. Can a myth get you? Is it if it's a myth, or is it a reality?
If the myth is your reality, it will get you. There you go.
I have to think about that. All right, everyone. Take care. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.